Week 2 is officially in the books. These are my SEC power rankings entering week 3 of the 2024 college football season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. Go to MYBOOKIE.ag. Use promo code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer on your first deposit. Again, guys, it's MyBookie.ag, promo code SECU to get your special welcome offer today. Week 2 of the SEC football season is officially in the books. And these are my power rankings entering week 3 as we pull up each of my selections, starting with number 16. There's going to be some shuffling down here at the bottom of these power rankings on a weekly basis, guys, because teams like Vanderbilt, South Carolina, some others, even Arkansas, look a little bit better than maybe we expected. Certainly, we thought we learned some things in week 1. We learned even more in week 2. And so number 16 for me after week 2 of the season, I've got the Mississippi State Bulldogs. A really, really disappointing loss at Arizona State. I know Arizona State was the favorite, but that is not a great Sun Devils team. And this was a game, guys, you got behind the 8 ball, you fell behind early, and you just could not dig yourself out of the hole. You give up over 350 rushing yards in this game. My greatest fear when it came to year 1 of Jeff Lebby was defense. Coleman Hutzler, a brand new defensive coordinator, he's been a journeyman in the SEC, but brand new being a DC, you saw that defense really bite them in the rear end. So I've got Mississippi State at number 16, probably going to be really difficult for the Bulldogs to win a conference game this season. At number 15, I've got the Florida Gators. Florida looked much better this past weekend. Granted, when you take into account the competition in Samford, Florida did what they were supposed to do. Maybe the most encouraging thing, DJ Lagway, over 450 yards passing. Even those who had the highest of expectations maybe didn't see that coming. Florida will have a greater chance to jump up these rankings this weekend when they take on Texas A&M in a game that feels like really it's a must-win for Billy Napier and company. So Florida sitting down here in that 15 spot. I think they're actually a better football team than this, but for right now, I'm keeping the Gators down at the bottom until they show us something on the field. Number 14, tumbling down the rankings, I've got the Auburn Tigers. There probably was not a more disappointing team, dare I say, in all of college football than what we witnessed from Auburn in week 2. Losing to the Cal Golden Bears. Guys, this was a game last week. Auburn folks, I felt like were kind of joking about. Like, I feel like this game was not taken seriously on the schedule. I was talking to Auburn folks, and the question was, are they going to cover? Are they not? There wasn't even a thought that Auburn might lose this football game. And sure enough, you do that. You lose in your home field as a 2-touchdown favorite. Peyton Thorne stinks. He is awful with a better quarterback. This is a team that maybe is even knocking on the top half of these power rankings at some point this season. But with Peyton Thorne, I will never for the life of me understand why Hugh Freeze decided to hitch his wagon to Peyton Thorne. Are you more than a quarterback away? Yes. But darn it, a quarterback could have helped you at least get to 7 or 8 or maybe 9 wins in the season. And now I don't know where you go. Does Hank Brown come in relief at some point? Who knows? But they've got a serious problem under center on the Plains. At number 13, I've got the Kentucky Wildcats. You talk about big-time disappointments. It's one thing to get beat. And if you would have told me that Kentucky may lose to South Carolina, I would have said, hey, that's a very realistic possibility. That absolutely can happen. But to lose the way in which you did and have Brock Vandagriff, and give credit to South Carolina, we're going to get there in a second, but for Brock Vandagriff to look as porous as he did, and for South Carolina to just flat out dominate you. We talked about the importance of that South Carolina-Kentucky matchup, how it was a trajectory-altering type of game based off who wins and loses. I think Kentucky now, you sit there, what is it, year 12, I think, of Mark Stoops. You're like, what are we doing here? What's the trajectory of this program? Where are we going under Mark Stoops? A lot more questions than answers for Kentucky. A roster that I think is still pretty solid. Like when you look at the names, you look at the defense, but a lot more questions than answers on the offensive side of the football. And it just feels like Kentucky has lost their identity under Mark Stoops in regards to it used to be the big blue wall and running the football and physicality. And I mean, you got whipped at the point of attack by South Carolina. Credit the Gamecocks, but Kentucky, lots of question marks for them. At number 12, I've got the Arkansas Razorbacks. So disappointed in Arkansas. This was a game you had against Oklahoma State. I feel like you lost this game more than Oklahoma State won that game. I'm not trying to take all the credit away from Okie State, but I mean, look at the numbers, guys. If I just showed you the stat sheet, you would have thought Arkansas won that game by 3 touchdowns. Instead, you have the 3 turnovers that cost you. You do make the field go to overtime, but you can't capitalize on that, and you lose the football game. Really tough loss for Sam Pittman. The offense was incredible. It's like I leave that game still feeling like, okay, Arkansas can be a problem for people, but are they going to be able to finish? Unable to do that on Saturday, and it's just another brutal loss in the long line of brutal losses for Sam Pittman and company. Number 11, I do have the Vanderbilt Commodores staying put from a week ago. You take care of your business against Alcorn State, guys. We are living in a world where Vanderbilt very well could be 3-0 going into SEC play. You got Georgia State this weekend on the road at Turner Field in Atlanta. Don't sleep on that game. That's dangerous. But the legend of Diego Pavia is growing and growing and growing. This man compared himself to Johnny Football late last week. In case you missed it, the dude drips swag. Vandy's feeling it. They're all buying into that, and that confidence is rubbing off. And you love to see what Clark Lee and the Commodores are doing. Guys, they can hit the over on the over-under win total this weekend. Over-under win total was 2.5. They can get to 3-0 this weekend. Crazy world we living in. Hey, at number 10, I've got the South Carolina Gamecocks. Credit to South Carolina. I had them in the dead last spot after last weekend. Did I maybe overreact to week 1? Maybe, but it's also just you want to see it on the field. All we can do is react to the latest information we have, and South Carolina was in a position darn near lost to the Old Dominion Monarchs, who I don't think we're going to be talking about as some powerhouse by season's end. But South Carolina, listen, there were many outcomes I thought were possible in that game in Lexington. The Gamecocks winning that game by 25 points. I don't even know that's an outcome that I thought was likely or even possible in the game. That South Carolina defense is for real. They are a real problem, guys. And when I say problem, by the way, many folks on social media, many people misunderstood. That's a good thing. They're a problem for the opponents. They're not a problem for them. They're a problem for the opponents. That defense is for real. You know, we talked about all offseason, the front seven, how South Carolina upgraded in regards to their athleticism. I think you see it playing out. Dylan Stewart is a freaking man-child. I think Dylan Stewart is the best edge rusher and probably the best freshman at South Carolina since Jadeveon Clowney graced and wore the garnet in black, and I don't think that's an overreaction at all. That kid is special. You know, offensively, it's got to continue to come along for them. I thought Lenoris Sellers, there were some bright spots. I thought he made some plays throughout that game. Had a bad interception, but again, he's playing like a young quarterback. Need more out of the running game. Need more from the receiver room, but I think this is going to be a team that their bread and butter's got to be running the football, right? Again, you can only ask your young quarterback to do so much. I think he'll continue to grow and evolve and get better, but they need the run game, for example, this week against LSU to step up. But defensively, I mean, this team was incredible on defense. What they did to Kentucky, the way they just stifled them was really fun to watch. And so South Carolina moves up 6 spots to number 10 in our power rankings this week. Number 9, I've got the Texas A&M Aggies. Ho-hum, take care of business against McNeese. The real test will come this weekend when you go to the Swamp. Take on the Florida Gators. A&M's the early favorite in that one, but again, we need to see more out of the offense. Connor Wigman, again, you took care of your business against McNeese. Doesn't really move the needle for me, right? I need to see them go out there against Florida, a gettable Florida defense, and be operating at a high capacity, at a high volume, if you will. So Texas A&M at 9, they're kind of in that spot. I don't know what to do with the Aggies. I don't really know what to make of the Aggies right now. I mean, listen, you lost to Notre Dame, and I gave Notre Dame credit. Tough loss. They lost in Northern Illinois. So is college football just that wild and wacky and unpredictable, or is Texas A&M maybe not even as good as I was giving them credit for? And number 8, I've got the Oklahoma Sooners. This is another team I have no idea what to do with, guys. Oklahoma, they stay put from last week. You almost lost to Houston. Not a good Houston team. Talking to folks down there in Norman, they are really, really, really worried about the offense. The offense is not good. Outside of Deion Burks, the offense is not good. Jackson Arnold has not been good. The offensive line has not been good. You got Tulane this weekend, and I tell you what, you better not mess around, Sooners. You better not mess around. Tulane is not to be messed with. And you got to, I say you're using this as a tune-up, but I don't view this game as like a tune-up kind of game. But you need to put your best foot forward and make some improvements because you got Tennessee the following week. And We're going to get there in a second, but we all saw what Tennessee did. They were fantastic. So Oklahoma at 8. I love the defense still. I don't know what to make of this team offensively. They have been they've really sputtered. Got to get things going in a hurry. Number 7, I got the LSU Tigers. Again, ho-hum kind of took care of their business. We're going to find out a lot more this weekend when they travel to Columbia, South Carolina, the site of College Game Day, and they take on the Gamecocks at Williams-Brice Stadium. We're going to find out so much more about the Bayou Bengals. You know, again, I didn't slide them down very far after the loss to Southern Cal. Thought it was a hard-fought game, could have gone either way, and I think Southern Cal is actually a pretty good team this year. You beat up on Nichols, but the greatest concern for LSU guys is lack of running game. Pass pro has been great for them with the offensive line. They cannot run the football with any consistency right now, and now you face a South Carolina defensive front that has been really salty and really active the first 2 weeks of the season. So big test for LSU. You're going to need Garrett Nussmeier, that group of wide receivers, to stretch the football, push the football down the field vertically, and kind of loosen up that defense. And then defensively, too. I mean, Nichols kind of was able to move the ball against you a little. Against a 23-point win, but there's still question marks when it comes to LSU, right? How much better is the defense? How good is Garrett Nussmeier? Is the offensive line going to come around? Really fascinating to learn more about this LSU team this weekend when they take on South Carolina. And right now, I've got them in the 7 spot. At number 6, I've got the Missouri Tigers. Mizzou's just another one. We're just not going, guys, we're not going to know anything about them until a couple weeks from now. You get Vandy next weekend, but I mean, they take care of Buffalo, right? Ho-hum yet again. I'm keeping Mizzou in this 6th spot. I still love the personnel. Love everything about this team, right? I mean, I think defensively is the question, right? This weekend against Boston College, maybe we start to get some answers. It's a top 25 matchup in Como, very underrated. And their quarterback, Castellanos, is a really good player, little kind of like a water bug, just like really hard to catch, hard to tackle. I think that's going to be an interesting test for their defense. So Mizzou right now got them in that 6th spot. Number 5, I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. I don't think Bama fans ever want to see USF on the schedule again. You scored 28 points in the 4th quarter, and if you just looked at the final score, you'd say, wow, that was a blowout. Guys, it wasn't. It really wasn't. I mean, this was actually a really close game, and Bama made it look ugly. You get Wisconsin at Camp Randall this weekend. Do not mess around in that one. They'll start jumping around. That place can get kind of crazy. I'm keeping Bama at 5. I'm not going to overreact to a slow start. I mean, you were sluggish for 3 quarters in that game. I'm not going to overreact to it, though, but can't afford to get off to that slow of a start again in Madison. Things could get sideways. Number 4, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers. Guys, I think a lot of Tennessee fans are going to be upset at this. The 3 I have ahead of Tennessee right now, I feel firmly about those 3. Tennessee was wildly impressive. They were wildly impressive. I mean, I was there firsthand to watch it. Beat the ever-living hell out of NC State, right? Beat the hell out of them. I mean, just took them to the woodshed, okay? Love what I saw from Nico. Love what you see from Dylan Sampson. But you know what's most impressive? The front 7. The defense is the best they've had there in over a decade. It's one of the reasons, if not the reason, I was most excited about Tennessee, because you know they're going to score offensively. Do they have the defense to complement it? The answer this year is a resounding yes. And I've got Tennessee in that 4 spot. Could they go higher? For sure. But right now, I've got them at 4. At number 3, I've got the Ole Miss Rebels. Guys, I wasn't willing yet to move Tennessee ahead of Ole Miss. That opportunity will show itself. I promise you that opportunity will present itself. Right now, I still like Ole Miss in the number 3 spot. I do. I still love their football team. I'm not going to move Ole Miss down because the front half of their schedule is weak. They're playing who they're playing. They're beating the heck out of them. I feel confident leaving this top 4 for the most part as is. The switcheroo came, again, Ole Miss at number 3. They disposed of Middle Tennessee State. Minus 40.5 was such an easy bet. But at number 2, so I had Texas 3 last week and Ole Miss at number 2. I gave Texas the nod ahead of Ole Miss because of their win over the Michigan Wolverines. A wildly impressive showing by the folks there in Texas, in Ann Arbor. Quinn Ewers was fantastic. Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, Gunnar Helm, the tight end, outduels the great tight end at Michigan. And the defense, guys, I was so impressed the way they stifled Donovan Edwards. We knew with Michigan, right, that, if Texas jumped out ahead in this game and they had to throw and kind of do something they didn't want to do, which is throw the football a lot, and they did that, it was going to be a massive advantage for the Texas Longhorns. You saw that play out. You saw that play out, but I thought they did such a good job of stopping the run. Obviously, I think that's a great sign for Texas. And you could argue maybe the most, right there with Tennessee, the most impressive team of the weekend. I mean, those two teams, certainly, those wins, very loud wins, statement wins. So Texas in this 2 spot. And at number 1, guys, certainly not going to move them out of the number 1 spot when all they do is win. They won again. I know it was against Tennessee Tech, but I'm not moving Georgia out this 1 spot until we have a reason to do so. So the Georgia Bulldogs at number 1, they go to Kentucky this weekend. Huge favorites in that game. Those games are always physical. We'll see how it plays out. Those are really physical contests. I don't know that Kentucky's going to have the firepower to keep up with the Georgia. But then you've got the following week, or maybe it's 2 weeks from now, you've got the Georgia-Alabama game that'll be upcoming. That's when we're going to start to really learn about Georgia, who they are. We'll learn some things at Kentucky, but that Bama game is really the one I think we're all looking forward to. So Georgia, number 1 for the 3rd consecutive week in my SEC power ranking. So, guys, do you agree with me? Do you disagree? How would you power rank the teams of the SEC entering week 3 of the 2024 college football season? Guys, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in again. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.